So here we are, Audio Workstations, week 2, Thursday. And we are going to have a live session covering just some ideas for the remix, some things to think about, try to answer some questions that you have along the way, and hopefully give you some ideas for some directions in which you can take your remix. So I have started a Pro Tools session here, and I have the vocals from the How Long by How to Destroy Angels, and I've brought them in, and I've found my tempo, and I've got my click set up, and I've also got my elastic audio enabled on my tracks. Now, out of all that I just talked about, does all that make sense? For everybody that's in here right now, what I just said, got my click lined up, got my tracks lined up, elastic audio is enabled. All right, good. That's great. So I'm starting from the very raw pieces of a remix. So you see I've got some instrument tracks set up here. I was just kind of tooling around on it and just seeing what I could come up with. I've changed my tempo to 111, sped it up a little bit. So let's just take a listen to it. Even if you believe in it. So I was kind of just trying to come up with really like an initial drum rhythm or something to work with. And I was going to, maybe try boom. I was going to maybe try structure free, or I was maybe going to try some loops. So what do you think? What should I try? All right, so let's try a loop. So let's do this. Let's try a loop and expand. Let's go through the expand loops. Always been here. That's cool, but it's just a little slow for my taste right now. I want to get something that's going to at least set the initial vibe for the song. So start over. Open up my folder, and now I can sample all these. Always been here. It almost seems like yesterday. Now, the other thing I can do, just to give you an idea, I can go in here and go into Notes View. What am I laying down here? I'll tell it to follow the grid, and I'll go into a 1-bar grid at bars and beats. I'll grab my pencil. There's an 8-bar piece there, so Command Control arrow left. If I click on that, that's 8 bars. So then I'll just duplicate it out a couple. Here's one for the assignment this week. Option R. Do 5 of those. Maybe I'll get rid of that last one there. Let me just loop this little area right here and see what I get. Can we keep holding on? How long? How
Can we keep holding on? Even in how long? How long can we keep holding on?
Let's listen to something.
Always been here. It almost seems like yesterday. Even in how long?
Let's try something.
Even in how long? How long?
Okay, so you see I'm putting sync points in there. So now I'm going to go into grid mode. And I'm going to move this sync point to 33. So I'll go to 33, hold command, right click this, and I'll move this clip sync to the selection start. So now I'm starting right at 33. So then I'll semicolon down to this one, right click, command, right click, and then I'll move my clip sync to the selection start. So now I'm on a downbeat.
How long? How long can we keep holding on? How long? How long can we keep holding on? A house on fire. A house on fire.
So that's right on a downbeat.
House on fire. A house on
No,
house on house
that's the downbeat there.
house house.
Split that. Let me find the house.
A house house.
Create a sync point. I'll go right to 51. Command right click.
A house on fire. Burning all the past away. And what defines us? Well, it's the little things that slip away. And if you're
All right. So I'm not even going to worry about those vocals there right now. I can line those up later. I'm going right off the lead vocal right now. So let me start right here.
a house,
Right there. What is that, 51? So let's try our... just title that loop. You know, you can see this can be a little bit of a slow process initially. So I've said this before, but you know, this is that situation when you're working on your own remix where, you know, you just got to sit in the chair and do it. Now, you know, everybody that's in here right now, let me see who's, I think there's a fresh name. Rick White, what's going on? So, you just got to sit in a chair and do it. So this is just fighting through the resistance here. Real world examples. So there, 51. Remember, I've got my insertion follows playback turned off. So I'll always go back to 51 now. So let's pull up my loops.
House on fire.
Let's find one we like. See what it sounds like. Notes view. That's a little high. Now this song is in D major, B minor. So let's try a B.
House.
Kind of like that. Pencil. Drop one in there. See, now look, I'm in slip mode. So if I go into grid mode, now I can land, and I can just pop that right on the grid. See, 51, I'm on the grid now. So as you can tell here, you may know this already, but I'm following along this little keyboard here when I'm transposing this note. And I can see I'm at B1 right now.
House on fire.
So let me stretch that out a couple bars. That's 2 bars. Let's listen. I'm gonna turn my click off.
House on fire. Burning all the past away.
So look, I've got this little insertion point here, right? But I've got this extra piece of loop here. If I hit A, I can just cut everything over to the front of that. So instead of having to hit B and separate it, and then hit the grabber and highlight it and delete it, I can just hit A. Just hit A, and it will delete that off. Now watch, it doesn't work when you're in slip mode or in shuffle mode though. If I try to do this in shuffle mode, not available in shuffle mode. It's kind of like it's like an edit lock in a sense. It's not edit lock, but it gives you a heads up that if you do that, you're going to move the region somewhere where you may not want to move it. So you can be in slip mode or grid mode and just hit A, delete that off. Now I can repeat this region out a couple times. Option R, I'll do 3 repeats. Now I've got 4 total regions. Option Command Tab. Turn tab to transient off. And then Option Shift Tab and highlight that back region. Now again, look, I can just hold Shift and click it and highlight it. I'm just trying to give you extra shortcuts. So you've got 3 lit up. You make sure that tab to transient's turned off, and you hit Option Shift Tab, and you can highlight that region before it. So now I can use all these.
House on fire. Burning all the past away. And what defines us well. House on fire.
So let's listen to a couple more loops.
Burning all the past away. And what defines us well. House on fire.
You know what? Check this out.
Burning all the past away.
You see that right there? You see how it doesn't quite land on the downbeat?
House on fire. Burning all.
I want to move that vocal. Now there's 2 ways I can do it. I'm going to do it the easy way.
Burning all. Burning all.
So I'm going to edit here. I'm going to separate B, okay? And I'm going to separate B here. I'm hitting B. When I say separate B, I'm hitting B to separate. But I'm going to find the downbeat here. Right there. Okay. Now I'm going to hit Command semicolon. That's up here under the clip menu. Identify sync point. So I'm making a sync point. So I'm going to make that lyric fall right on the downbeat. The house on fire. Burning all right there. So I want that to jump right to 53.1. So I go into my counter and I take my main insertion point to 53.1. But see, I'm on the loop track now. So I'll hit semicolon. See, now I'm in my lead vocals track. Hold Command, right click, move sync to selection start. Now let's listen to it. The house on fire, burning all the past away, burning all the past away, burning all the house on fire, burning all the past away. I feel like that should start a little bit sooner. So right here, I can go into my nudging, okay? So it doesn't matter whether I'm in bars or beats or minutes or seconds grid, okay? But I'm going to go into my nudge value, and I'm going to nudge minutes and seconds, and I'm going to nudge by 1 millisecond. And on your keyboard, on your actual, okay, so there's, who's in here? 8 people. Somebody else just popped in. Stephanie Butler, what's going on? Cool. Couple more people showing up. Me, yes. Hello. It sounds very Star Wars. Me, yes. Hello. So I think welcome, seriously. So I think that this lead vocal should nudge a little bit to the left, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my nudge values. Now check it out. Once you pick your minutes and seconds nudge, if you hold Command Option. Now, this has to be your Apple USB keyboard. How many of this 8 of you have the Apple USB keyboard with the numeric pad on the right? Hopefully, I'll get at least one I do. Not I, Robert Webster. Okay. That's one down. Felix, that's you down. Okay. Not I3. Not I3, right? Okay. Yeah, that would be nobody. Exactly. Okay, so at any rate, I'm going to tell you anyways in case you get the keyboard and you're just that excited to use this shortcut. Command Option and then the plus and minus keys. Look up in my nudge value there. You can see I'm changing my nudge value. 1 second, 500 milliseconds, 100 milliseconds, 10 milliseconds, 1 millisecond. So at any rate, if you pick that with your mouse, if you picked 1 millisecond, now the comma and the plus key, let's make a larger value. Let's make 1 second. The comma and the period, right? You have the M key on your QWERTY keyboard, not your Oxygen keyboard, but your typing keyboard on your laptop. The comma and the period. So the comma is left nudge, and the period is right nudge. So I'm going to have to undo that till I get that lead vocal back. There we go. So what I want to do is I want to nudge that 1 millisecond to the left. Just a couple milliseconds, but I'm going to play and let it loop while I'm listening to it. So I'm going to do like 7 milliseconds right now. I just tapped minus on my keyboard. I could have tapped period. I tapped minus, but you would tap comma. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That should be where it was. Okay, so now I'm going to type comma and nudge it left 1 millisecond. You'll see the comma on the screen every time I do it. The house on fire. So right there, passed away, burning all the past away. The timing is a little bit weird.
Burning all the past away. Burning all the past away.
It's almost like it should come in a little faster. So maybe if I nudge it to the left a couple more. So I'm going to use the comma key. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I should probably just go to 10 milliseconds.
Burning all the past away.
It's almost there.
Burning all the past away. Burning all the past away. A house on fire. Burning all the past away.
Let's bump it up again. Let's go 100 milliseconds. Highlight it, comma.
Burning all the past away. Burning all the past away. A house on fire. Burning all.
Too fast. Too soon, I should say.
Burning all fire. Burning all.
Now, here's another thing you can do. Let me look at this. I'm going to show only my selected tracks. And then I'm going to use that shortcut again. Control, Option, Command, arrow down. Now I just have those two in my view here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the T key to zoom in. And now I'm just going to look where this downbeat starts. I know that's my downbeat there. Now,
Burning all.
let me solo this out.
Burning all. Burning.
So actually, that's the sync point there. I was going to try to do a little vocal edit there, but let me
Burning.
right there. I'm not even going to use the sync point now. So now I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to line up. Maybe I will. Maybe I will use a sync point. What the heck?
Burning all.
Right there. So Command, comma. There it is. That's 53. So 53. Command, right click. Sync point to selection start. Now let's listen to it.
Burning all the past away. House on fire. Burning all the past away.
Seems like it just comes in too fast.
Burning all.
Oh, that's weird. All right, well, that's fine. But when I play it with the vocal, it just gets a weird flange.
Burning all. A house on fire. Burning all.
So now we're going to go back to nudging. I'm going to nudge by 10 milliseconds.
Burning all.
Try that. That sounds better.
House on fire. Burning all.
Why does it sound like it's skipping? Listen. Turn the vocal off. Listen to the drum groove. Two-bar loop. Right now, but listen to it with the vocal now.
A house on fire. Burning all the past away.
Let's just nudge in.
Burning all.
Okay, it's jumping this. So let's go back out here. Let's zoom in. Option F. See where we're at here. All right, so now I'm going to nudge period right.
Burning,
Let's listen to it.
burning up, burning up,
What in the world? That is so weird.
burning up. A house on fire, burning all the past away.
That's a little better.
A house on fire, burning all the past away. Burning all.
I'm going to get my zoom tool. Zoom in. Use left nudge. That's great.
Burning up, burning up, burning up.
Let's hear it.
A
Yeah,
house,
that. What?
a house on fire, burning all the past away. On fire, burning all the past away.
All right. That's driving me so nuts. I'm going to change the sound.
House on fire, burning all the past away. House on fire, burning all the past away. House on fire, burning all the past away.
That's better.
House on fire, burning all the past away.
Okay, so right there, let's just use that. So again, you'll hear me say it several times, but think about that. That took us 5-10 minutes to kind of get there and just be able to tweak it. So this is where the patience of learning a new program, fighting through the resistance, knowing that you're going to come up with something that sounds really cool, but staying in the seat and working with it. Because, we're all in here throwing ideas, trying to have some fun, and it makes it cool. But, when it's late at night or early in the morning or middle of the afternoon, and you have to do all this stuff on your own, that's where the discipline, that's where the will kicks in, or the willingness, right? It's just being willing to go through the resistance, being willing to sit down and do the work. And then once you're willing to do it, the resistance kind of just falls away. So let's look at kind of adjusting the timing on this vocal. Let me say this too. I'm taking a fairly granular approach to going through this remix. Sometimes you can get your remix set up where you just change the tempo and then you'll just write whatever you feel like you want to write along with, say, like a stronger melody. To me, this isn't a real strong melody. And even though the click locks, it's to me, the way that I hear it, it's not your typical, like, there was that one Jonas Brothers track, Pom Poms. That one had a way stronger melody to it. So this one I'm approaching completely differently. So these steps that we're looking at, this is really like end of week 3, maybe week 4 editing type of maneuvers. But what we want is we want you to be able to have the maximum of your focus on building your remix. I think on Monday, John actually brought that up where he said, if we waited till week 4 to go through these concepts, it would just be so overwhelming. So if some of this stuff is a little bit new, or if it feels like, oh, I like that, but it doesn't make sense, or why are we doing this, or this is stupid, or like whatever these things that you hear coming out of your subconscious mind, just remember this is all just part of the resistance, right? This is just, I say that word so much, but that's so much of what it is. So again, if some of this feels a little bit not familiar, if it feels a little bit like, oh my God, it's been 5 minutes and he's still noodling with this thing, remember, live remix session, giving you some shortcuts, giving you some tips on how to move regions around, how to nudge. This is all, a lot of this is related to what we're learning this week, but it's blended in with these remix concepts. So we did get stuck in these pockets, right? But you can hear how it starts to come together. So let's look at this vocal here and how we need to nudge a piece of this vocal over just a little bit. Are you guys at least having fun? Are you seeing where I'm going? Anybody have any questions? Remember, this is a little more open forum than last night. Okay, good, good.
A house on fire, burning all the past away, burning all the past away, burning all the past away, past away, past away.
So it sounds like it lines up, but it's got a weird feel to it. Let's hear it again.
A house on fire, burning all the past away,
See, that feels a little late to me.
all the past away.
So I'm going to do something just real simple. Split it. Grab the region. I'm at, what am I nudging? Milliseconds? Yeah. So now watch this. Just nudge.
All the past away.
There it is. That's what we need to time out. We need to time out way. We need to listen to, she says, burning all the past away, right? Right there. So that needs to fall exactly, Javon. She kind of drags her words. So we need to time way with the downbeat. But I think I just hit it with that nudge.
Burning all the past away.
Nope, not quite. Couple more nudges.
Past away. The past away. Way, way. All the past away.
Now look, I can get in here and split this up. I'll split that.
Past away. All the past away.
No, I didn't want that.
Past away.
There we go.
Past away.
Oh, wait, where did that edit come from? Let's push that back. So period. Push that back. Almost. Now look, I lost my highlight. I had that lead vocals 12 highlighted and I lost it. I could double click it again, right? But if I use Command Option Z, then I can re-highlight that. So if you ever have like a very specific selection made, and for some reason, you know, you do a fat finger and you accidentally hit return and you jump all the way back to the beginning of the session, stop for a second, Command Option Z. Now, you don't see anything, but look right up here. You see this little blue arrow here? Watch when I click that blue arrow. That lets me know where my cursor's off screen. So now there I jump back. So look, I've got an area highlighted. You know, let's just say you're getting real specific on a vocal and you're in here and you get this perfect little spot and you're and you lose it, right? Because you had this turned on. Just Command Option Z, you get it back, and now you can turn that off. Remember, this is insertion follows playback, so we want that off. So you get your highlight, you lose it, Command Option Z, look up here, or you may look over here if you're further down in the session. You find your playback cursor locator, click it. There it is. It brings you right back to your spot in your session where you were. So that's how I started that discussion, by losing that highlight. So let's see what we're listening to here. So I'm going to use period and nudge it to the right. Couple more. Now later on in the course, you'll learn a different way to do this. Still don't like it.
A house on fire, burning all the past away, past away, all the past away, past away, burning all that. A house on fire, burning all the past away.
So here, let's try this. All right, so I'm going to split that. Then I'm going to see if I can just take this. Let me go into my 16th note grid there. Go into grid mode and pop it on the grid. Yes, I agree, Javon. Absolutely.
Burning all the past away.
Where does way fall? Does it fall on the grid? Okay, so check it out. I mean, I have my elastic audio enabled, right? So let me go and look at my warp markers. So I don't need that warp marker. That one. So let me remove that. So now I'm going to go right here. I'm going to pop a warp marker there. And I'm going to pop a warp marker right there. And then I'm going to pop a warp marker. Yeah, well, we're going to get into these. I just opened up the can of worms. So in Pro Tools, because of Elastic Audio, you have the ability to have Pro Tools analyze the audio and create warp markers. And then you also have the ability to delete and place particular warp markers in your audio. So you can basically stretch out your audio like a rubber band. So I've been editing these vocals and moving the vocals around. But now I just opened up the can of worms that you actually don't even need to, well, you, not that you don't even need to do that, but sometimes an easier way is to actually just warp the audio. So if exactly, thanks Felix. It's like Logic with flex time. So if you use flex time in Logic, then this will make sense to you. So I'm not going to try to make this whole piece about it because we're going to get into it later in the course, but that thing was just really bugging me. And I said, you know what, let me just open up the can of worms and at least give you a glimpse into it. So let's listen to it now. So so that right there, let me go back. Let me Command H this. Now that's not the same. What I'll probably do is I won't even warp that. Let me just drag this over here. Fire, burning all the past away. A house on fire, fire, burning up. A house on fire, burning all the past away. It's weird. The vocals are not clipping at all, but just the way that they deliver the stems, I can hear a little distortion. Let's bring them to the center. House on fire, burning all the past away, burning all the past away. See, now look, I lost that piece of that audio there because I don't know if you can hear it through the mic, but that's her ambience. Okay, I don't think you can hear that, but watch. I'll separate that out, right? And right here, snap to previous. Boom. Now I get my ambience back. All right, you know what? Let's look at this loop. Seems so weird. A house on fire, burning all the past away. What defines us? You can import the stems, your audio stems, but you can't actually just open a Logic 9 session. But you could have, your stems from Logic as WAV files, and then just import those WAV files, just like importing audio into Pro Tools, and then just import those into your session and then edit. So let's keep that. Now this here, I'm going to tab up to it. And what? So it's what and what. And what? 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 About right there. I'll make that sync point. I'll go to 55. Command right click. Move clip sync to selection start. Let's hear how it sounds. And what defines us? That drum loop is slipping for some reason, and I don't know why. So you know what? That's actually so frustrating that I'm just going to turn it off and I'm going to delete all that data out of there. That's how I'm getting back at it. So now let's let's make a selection from 51 to 57. Okay, so I've got 6 bars.
House on fire, burning all.
But you know what's funny is this is all part of that creative process, right? We get so far in, and I mean, I'm feeling as much as that, we're just in here and going through some shortcuts and talking about Pro Tools, and this is fun, which I hope you're having fun. But at the same time, I want it to sound good. I want it to be right. I want it to start to evolve as a creative piece. But we got to let that go. We got to get away from it because I could sit there and try to noodle around and figure out why it's doing it. It's MIDI. It's not as spot on as audio, all these different things. So you know what I'm doing? I'm deleting it. I'm getting away from it. And now I'm going to go into Pro Tools loops. And I'm going to dig through some samples and see what I can find. Let's go into our dance DJ loops. Remember, does everyone in here got a couple others in here? Who else is in here? Frank Shedrick Jr., what's going on? Emmanuel Scott, what's going on? So, does everyone in here, all of you, have the Big Fish audio loops downloaded onto your drive? Stephanie, did you get a set of install discs, or did you get a download for Pro Tools 10? Oh man, you gotta get up to 10. Stephanie, send me an email and tell me that you're on 9, and I'll send you a link that hopefully you can get up to 10. You got to get up to 10. You don't want to be on 9. Okay, so Rick White, if you have install discs, then the Pro Tools samples will be on those discs. You got like 4 discs in that set, and one of the back discs says like audio loops or something like that. And Frank, you too. So it probably came in a box that's about like 3.5, 4 inches wide, and it's probably about 5 inches tall. In that package of discs, one of those discs or 2 of those discs are audio loops, and it's like something like 10 gigs or something like that. All right, cool. Good. All right. So Stephanie, they're either on your Avid discs or I'm pretty sure even if you have 9, you still have the loops though. So whether you got discs or whether you have a download, if you look in your Avid account online, if you've registered your software, then on your Avid account, which hopefully all of you have registered your Avid software. If you've not registered your software, you've probably seen the email. Make sure you register your software. All right. So, but Stephanie, send me an email about you're on 9, and I'm going to send you an email. I don't know, but you need to move faster than, let me say this. When you need to send me that email tonight, please. And I need to send you the information at least by the morning, and you need to call Avid tomorrow. Okay, good. All right, so let's have a little fun here. So remember, I just made a selection. I made a 6 bar, which is a little odd selection, but it's enough to fit into these vocals. And let's just find another loop. Remember, we're fighting through the process here, trying to find something that works.
House on fire, burning all the past away. And what defines us? Well, house on fire, burning all the past away.
All right, now remember, when I pull up the workspace, you would have received an email from Avid saying thank you for registering your software. So now remember, when I open up the workspace and I listen back to these drum loops, they may be a little loud. Let me pull the volume down here. Yeah, Rick, or just search your email for Avid, search your email for Avid emails and see if you have an email in there that says thank you for registering, because you would have gotten an email from them, or look in your Avid account all online, because if you have an Avid account online, then that would indicate that you've registered your software. But yeah, you can contact Avid too. If you want to be, if you can't find the email, then I would contact them for sure. All right, so when I listen to these loops right now, I'm listening to them at the original tempo. So when I play my session back
House on fire,
and I preview the loops,
burning all the past away. And what defines?
I'm not hearing them at the tempo of the session. So what I need to do is I need to enable the conform to session tempo button, this little metronome. So now it's going to conform to the session tempo. Now this is where I ran into some issues the last time. So let's see how this goes. Now these loops should play back at the session tempo.
House on fire, burning all the past away. And what defines us? Well, house on fire, burning all the past away. And what defines us? Well, house on fire, burning all the past away. And what defines us? Well, house on fire, burning all the past away. And what defines us? Well, house on fire, burning all the past away. And what defines us? Well, house on fire, burning all the past away. And what defines us? Well, house on fire, burning all the past away. And what defines us? Well, house on fire, burning all the past away.
All right.
And what defines us?
All right, get ready for a refresher here, because I've reached the reset point. All right. So now I'm going to go back into the tracks and I'm going to pull them all back in. Actually, here, I'm even going to do this. Back to the original tempo. That's the key. I'll leave the key the same. Have some candy. Maybe a couple M&Ms. But only the green ones. All right. Boy, we could just beat that one into the ground, you know. All right, so we're back at the original tempo. It's just like we've downloaded the tracks off of Indaba. We create a click track and we move forward. Now let me ask you this. Does anybody want to go through locking up the tempo, or is everybody good on that? I mean, we're going to get back into the remix. I hit the reset point. I was like, all right, you know what? I'm starting over. So if everybody's good with getting the tempo locked up, then we'll just jump right into this to the session because I already know the tempo. All right, yeah. So we got half and half, right? Oh, we got another one in here. Darion, is it Darion? What's going on? What's going on? Cool. All right. Welcome. So I've got my tracks in. Everybody knows that you need to sign up for a free account on Indaba. You need to register for the opportunity. You get 3 free keys. You download your stems from Indaba, and then you drag them into Pro Tools like I did. And then they're in the session, okay? The archives cover this. I just did the last 30 seconds of it just now, and now we need to find the tempo. Most of the time, the tempo is listed in the creative brief on Indaba. But if you don't know the tempo, then this is how you do it. So here's the drum track. That's typically could be with newer tracks, with newer music recorded to a click. So we're going to do this to a click. So right now, if we play the click back, it doesn't lock up. So now we need to figure out the tempo. So we need to make sure that we have tab to transient enabled. So I tab here. Let me get up to this track here. There we go. This is just the drums track. So I'm tabbed up to the first transient. I'll just look at it. There I am. So the click isn't locking. I'll turn the click off right now by hitting 7 on my numeric pad. Here's my transport. See, I hit 7 on my numeric pad. It turns it on and off. So I'm going to turn it off for now. So I could tap the tempo. So when I tab, I'm tabbing up to the initial transient in the waveform. Well, actually, there's a little bit of a transient here, but the strongest transient is the one that I'm tabbing to. So this is the strongest transient. So let's listen a little bit here. Always been here. It almost seems like yesterday. Hard to picture. All right. So you see what I'm doing there. I'm tabbed up to the first transient, and now I'm hitting Shift Tab. And as I hit Shift Tab, I'm tabbing to the next transient. So as Felix added in, the transient is a change in the waveform. So these are very strong transients in the audio recording. And because I'm holding Shift Tab, remember I have Tab to transient enabled, Shift is keeping what's been already activated or already discovered, which was the first transient. And now by hitting Tab, again, by holding Shift, I can keep highlighting through transients. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to count out, while I'm listening back, I'm trying to count out about a 4-bar loop that I'm listening to. So I'll hit playback and I'll start counting, and then I'm holding shift and hitting tab, kind of chasing along to highlight a 4-bar loop. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 2, 3, 4. 3, 2, 3, 4. 4, 2, 3, 4. So right there. So that's a 4-bar loop. Let's listen to it and make sure that it loops.
Always been here. It almost seems like yesterday. Always been.
Okay, so that's a 4-bar loop. So now we can hit Command I. And for right now, we can just tell Pro Tools that that transient is starting at 4-1, and we know it's a 4-bar loop, so it's going to end at 10-1. What am I saying? 8-1.
Always been here. It almost seems like yesterday.
Okay, so you see it found the tempo at 81. Now check it out. If I go to Indaba and I look in the creative brief, it tells me that it's 81 beats per minute. So again, a lot of time Indaba gives you the tempo. So in that case, what we could do is we could just go in here and we could just change the tempo to 81 beats per minute. A lot easier, right?
Always been here.
All right, so we have our tempo locked up. So now, ideally in this remix, you're going to get rid of everything but the vocals. Because remember, you're trying to create a remix. So what we'll do is I'll highlight everything except for the vocals. And I'm going to hide them and make them inactive. Now I've got just my vocal tracks here. Turn a click off.
Always been here. It almost seems like yesterday.
All right, so let's start trying some things at the original tempo, because after we get going, we can always change the tempo through Elastic Audio. But let's try at the original tempo, okay? So let's go back to our drum loops again. I'm just going to highlight. Isn't there an option to download the videos?
Always been here.
Pull my loops up.
It almost seems like yesterday. Hard to picture. It's the little things that slip away. Built with blisters, but they find a way to take a little bit.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
They won't find us.
All right, so let's see here. That starts at 1. So look, Option R. Actually, here, let's try this. Let's go to our loop trimmer. Here, let's get out of shuffle mode. Go into grid mode. I grab the loop trimmer. 16 bars of loop. So look, just look what I did there real quick. You see how I just used the loop trimmer and then I dragged them out? And you can see that these are showing the instances of the loops. Look at Felix going black hat on the YouTube videos. Mac X, Jacksta. No, that's cool. I mean, if you guys can get them, you can get them. I mean, they're all yours, you know. I mean, you guys paid for them, so by all means. But hey, Darion, shoot me an email and saying, hey, you know, I wasn't able to download the archives off of YouTube, and maybe there's just something we need to get in there and adjust, because I thought you could download them. But just if you don't mind, shoot me an email. I'll look into that. So back here real quick, you saw I used the loop trimmer to create a loop out of it. Just, oh, I'm in go to, there we go. So look, I grabbed the loop trimmer and I just pull out as many copies as I want. Allegedly. What is going on? See, this loop trimmer, if you ask me, that's too slow, man. I mean, I'd have been done by now. Look, done. Option R. I don't know. Give me 16 of them, or 15. Boom, there. And then if I don't have enough, highlight that one, a couple duplicates right there. Shift return. Now I can got a nice little section to loop.
Always been here. It almost seems like yesterday. Hard to picture. It's the little things that slip away.
All right, so right there, hey, I'll just repeat that out through the whole song, and that's my remix. No, minimalist. It's my minimalist remix. But right there, at that point, I feel another loop coming in. I feel a loop coming in. So right there. So I'm just going to highlight a couple loops here, 4 of them. Pull up my... Now let's pull up an instrument again and see if we can get it to cooperate. So Command Shift N, stereo, instrument track, loop. Let's pull up structure free. Structura free. And you will have right here, let's try this. Hip hop loop. Nah, it's too hip hoppy. Let's see what this is. Yeah, that's kind of 9-inch nailsy. So look, the instrument track is the MIDI track and the aux track combined together. The output of this track has already been sent to channel 1 by default. I inserted the structure-free instrument, which you have in your setup. It's under instrument, structure-free. And then I and then I opened up that patch, the structure-free patch on the sampler. And so now when I play my impulse, or you play your oxygen, whatever you have, you can play the loop back. Now, this is C3. Look at the sampler down here. You can see what key you're playing, right? And since it's key tracked, the lower in pitch you go, the lower in pitch the sample plays. The higher in pitch you go, the higher in pitch the sample plays. So if it's a little off, you can actually change the pitch to keep up with your song. But let's see what happens here. Right there. So actually, I think this.
Always been here. It almost seems like yesterday. Hard to picture. It's the little things that slip away.
So let's just go with that. Notes. Not. I think I was on E3 when I was doing that. Pencil tool. Now look, Control equals. There's my MIDI editor. So I need to make sure that I'm in my track here. Control equals. Now look, you see my insertion point there? Let me get there. So now I'm in that track, and I'm right here in my whole piano roll. Here's where it starts. Now look, if I play back here, I can hear the song.
Little things that slip away.
So I wanted to go here. Get my pencil tool. Now how am I laying my notes down? Let's see. I'm following my grid, and my grid is a 16th note grid right now. So let me go to 1 bar. Now watch when I lay a note down. It lays 1 bar down. Now, one thing you can do when you're working with these loops, let me bring the structure back up. Hold the note down and listen how long the loop is. How long of a loop does this play out for? So let's listen to it. Now check that out. This is a little further in, but there's key switches set up in this sample. So look, if I play this, typically your C3 is going to be the original sounding sample. So, but look at these keys down here that are blue. Those are key switches. So these are the loop variations. Now, when I pulled the patch up, it told me 4 on the floor loops, 8 variations, selectable by key switches C5 through G5. So C5, see it flashing, through G5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, because there's 8 semitones between C5 and G5. So even the flat keys, sharp keys, paying homage to a current music group, the Black Keys, you can change the loop. So I'll hold down C3, and when I tap C5, say C, C sharp, D, E, flat, E, F, G flat, G, while I'm holding down C3, look, it's C3 on the keyboard. Now watch when I hit, now as I'm holding down C3, watch those blue keys and you'll hear the loop change. So there's a lot going on there in that one loop in structure. So let's have some fun with that. Let's just listen to what we've put in here so far. So that's C sharp in there. So let me pull up my MIDI editor and go up to C sharp 5. So we want that. Now look, you notice I'm in the MIDI editor right now. Look, see I'm using the escape key. You see my tools here? I'm hitting the escape key and I'm scrolling through my tools. So what I'm trying to do is get to my trimmer. And I'm trying to get back to 12 here. Let me just show you another navigation trick here. If you hold command, just to the left of the 1, the numeric 1, there's a little key called a tilde on even on your laptop, the number 1 at the top left of your keyboard. There's a little key there called the tilde. So if you hold command and tap that tilde key, you can scroll the open windows. So now I can scroll the MIDI editor, the edit window and the mix window in Pro Tools. If I'm in the MIDI editor and I hit Command equals, that's going to take me back to just toggling the edit and the mix windows. But if I hold Command tilde, now I can scroll those open windows. So that's one to get used to if you're going to use the MIDI editor. It takes, now, if you're used to editing MIDI, you may like and automatically default to using the MIDI editor, but it may take a second to get used to using that, but you'll really like it once you get used to looking at it, I guess is how I should say. So what I was going to do was I was going to pull up that structure sampler again. I was trying to program that in here. So let's just try it at 16. There's 16. So if I duplicate that, see now I've got this note starting. I don't want that at 16.3. I want that right at 16.1. See, sometimes this is where this view works better. See what we got going on here. All right, it's right at 16.1. So that's, I want to just move that up a couple notes and see if I can keep. So let's look at our plugin. Now look, that note is D5, and look what's lit up, D5. So if I if I duplicate that, now if I hold Shift right now, if I want to move this up, right, I'm doing okay because I'm close enough to the grid I can see what I'm doing. But if I was in a much finer grid, I might have a little bit harder time seeing exactly where I'm moving this thing. So what I can do is hold Shift and I can be sure to lock my position on the grid. So I'll take that up to F5. And then what I'm going to do is just go ahead and duplicate this. That's starting at 21. That's starting at 21. So now let's start back here. See it switch there? That switched. So anyways, I mean, we got kind of deep down in there, but you can see how you could wind up finding one sample in structure and using that for all the variations because of these key switches that are programmed in there. You also have bass, in this particular sample, you have bass control, treble control, cutoff. Let's hear what cutoff does. It takes the click out of the kick. Decay. So that, takes some of the fatness out of it. So at any rate, let's see where we're at. Let's hear what we're hearing. I mean, just with what little bit we've done here. If you believe in it, if you believe in it, how long? How long? Let's just duplicate that out a little bit. So there's our hook, I guess, is how long. So let's hear that. So let's mess with the synth. Let me get that back. Let me turn insertion follows playback off so I can keep that highlight. All right, and let's pull up another instrument track. And let's do synth. And let's put a... What do you want to try? I mean, let's look at the basic that we have. Boom's a drum machine. We're working with drums, so we'll skip that one. We could pull up Mini Grand. We could pull up Vacuum. We could pull up Expand 2. Or we could pull up DB33 organ. What should we pull up? What do you think? Expand? All right, let's do Expand and then we'll do organs, okay? Bear with me 1 second here. All right, so Expand. Let me pull up Expand. So the default Expand is a really cool one. So just for the heck of it, let's use that one. So we've got our chorus highlighted here. It's a little swimmy. It's almost like you can't even hear what's going on. So let's try some. Well, here, let's just stay in full synth mode and go to let's go to multi-track arpeggios. Hove. All right. Let's play along with this and see what happens here. You got it, Dario. Oh, you got it. That's funny. I did. I was like, Hove. All right. Try another one. Let's go. Now we can open up the folder, and now we can just play back and listen and just jump through them all. Hey, Javon, I'm trying to, but it's like, so it's like B, A, G, F sharp, and then it drops down to A. Get ready. So let's figure out that's like B minor, right? And then to A major. So then that would be what? G major. F sharp major. Back to A major. And then resolve the D major. Let's hear it now. Well, I didn't even play the same thing. Let's try something else. That's a cool effect, but I'd bring that in later. Ooh, let's try that. Again, you know, you're just sitting here just tweaking on patches, trying to find something you like. Gosh, man, sometimes you just find a sound that makes you just want to stop what you're doing and head in a totally different direction. Some weird stuff going on in there. That's weird. It almost sounds like, oh, there's some. You can't really hear it, but there's actually some tone to that. I'd add that later. I wouldn't get into that now. What else we have? What else we have in here? Action pads. Let's mess with those. See what we find. Nope. First couple don't hit me. I'm not sticking around. I'm going to something else. Huge pads. So let's just look at a couple things real quick here. Let's find something that's not quite as swimmy. Enable the synth. I'll try to just record something real quick. So not perfect, but that's okay because we're going to just see what we can come up with here. So we're going to so right about there, I'm going to get rid of that. So I'm just going to hit A, get rid of that. And now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to quantize this. We'll talk more about quantization next week. Option zero. We'll dig into it deep next week. You're welcome. You're welcome. So oh, man, that is really shrill. Let's let that loop for now. So now we can just scroll through the sounds. Change sounds.
keep holding on. How long? How long?
All right, so can you hear the synths and the delays and everything kicking in now? Cool. Thank you, because I was like, I knew there was going to be a turning point, right? Now look at it. Look, just this is how I want to encourage you. Now, there's always going to be some students in every class, and we'll get into it more next week. We'll start throwing our tracks out there, and I'll throw it to you guys now. We have a nice small group, and everybody hung around, which I think is really cool. But I'm just going to encourage you. Look, it's been 2 hours, and now look what we've got. There's something really cool going on here. And we haven't even started to adjust our tempo out. We went back to the original tempo, but you got to kind of take it back to, what if you were sitting in your studio by yourself and it was 11 o'clock at night, or if it was 6 o'clock in the morning, or 2 o'clock in the afternoon and you just got off of work? Would you have sat there for 2 hours and fought through and kept pushing to come up with your sound? Or would you have sat there for 2 hours and then all of a sudden you're like, man, I got to go to work? And then you have an hour when you get home from work. Would you have asserted yourself and disciplined yourself to sit down and work through and finally find that little magic spot? So this is how I'm just trying to encourage you, because in this live session, if you go back and watch the archive, you're going to find a lot of shortcuts. You're going to find nudging. You're going to find tab to transient. You're going to find, conform to session tempo. You'll find all these little topics that we've talked about. But in between that, we've really gone through this core creative process where, we're dealing with frustration. Think of my frustration as I'm trying to get the vocal to line up, and it sounds like things are double hitting, and you're sitting on the other end going, what is he doing? I mean, what's the point? But now that we're at the end of it, you might see the point a little bit more, right? So, yeah, that's great, Javon. Yeah, it's fun. I don't care about work until I get there. So, but that's just what I'm trying to encourage you, is just be willing, because as the weeks go on, the pressure, I shouldn't say it like this, but I'm going to say it like this. The pressure is going to build. The assignments are going to get a little bit more complex. It's going to take you a little bit more time to complete the assignments. I know last night I said, hey, make sure that you have time to work on your PTA too, because it may take you a little bit longer to connect all the steps together. So not only are you going to have PTA 3, but now you're more in motion on your remix because the deadline is coming. So just start to chunk out, right? Open up iCal, look at your calendar, look at where your pockets are, type in your work schedule in your iCal, type in whatever schedule you have in iCal, and schedule that out, and then look at it, and then look at whatever else you have going on and put that in iCal, and start to chunk out and look, what are the little pockets? How much time tomorrow, Friday, can I put into my remix? A half an hour? Good. Put a half an hour in. Can you do anything Saturday? Maybe not. Can you do something Sunday? Maybe you have an hour, right? But chunk it out and put it in iCal. Like, look forward to the end of the month when it's due. That's Sunday when it's due. And look in iCal and just look backwards and be like, okay, I got to work on it an hour here tomorrow, Friday on the 17th. And then probably can't get back to it realistically till Monday, but I'm going to put an hour in there. And then on Wednesday, I'm going to put 2 hours in, and literally chunk it out, right? Because you're setting these goals for these times, right? And what's going to happen? Maybe when you scheduled it for next Wednesday and you thought you had 2 hours and you're like, man, you know what? Something came up. I'm only going to have an hour, but that's okay because you've spent a little bit of time before that working on it. So if you chunk it down to these little pieces of a half hour, 1 hour over the next 2 weeks, you could put 15 hours into your remix, but you've chunked it out over time. So you could work on your remix up until the due date, right? Say it's all done. You don't even know what's really coming in the fourth week, which is really, really fun stuff. But in the fourth week, now you're chunked out. You've already allocated time. You kind of don't even know what you're going to get into in the fourth week for your remix, but you've already looked in your iCal and you said, okay, on the fourth week, I've got 2 hours on Tuesday. I've got 1 hour on Wednesday. I've got an hour on Thursday. Friday, I can't do it. And Saturday is my key day to tweak it all out. Well, I can tell you what, when you get to that Saturday and you've done everything that you've done and you've sat there and chunked out your schedule and you've worked it out and you're sitting there tweaking on your remix the day before it's due, you're going to just sit back and laugh because you'll be so happy when you look back at all the time and you'll be like, oh my God, I put 20 hours. Again, I'm just spitballing here, but I put 20 hours into my remix and I don't even feel like I did anything. So I'm going to get off the soapbox here. But again, I'm just encouraging you because if you look back at the last 2 hours, you learned a lot. I think you did. And if you go back and watch the archive, you'll realize all the little pieces that fell. Oh, I forgot he did that. Oh, that's what he did there. Okay, I see. Oh, that was that shortcut, that kind of thing. But at the same time, now look what we have. We have something that's starting to take shape. So I want to show you one more thing real quick if you guys want to hang out for another minute or two. And I just want to show you this next idea that I thought might work by using, I'm still going to use expand, but I'm just going to move a couple things around and I'm going to see if we can get something that'll make it sound even bigger based on this whole concept of arpeggios. So remember, here's what it sounded like without the arpeggiator turned on. All right, so let's see if we can do something here. Same channel, right? Same channel. Synth bass. Let's try this Jupiter bass here. Let's drop the octave here. Let's drop it 2 octaves. And then let's turn the arpeggio. That's a little low. That's a little low. You might not even hear that. Hold on. There it is. Turn the arpeggiator on. Let's see what happens. So, and then just to take it even further, you could get put some ambience and effects in there. Let's put that in there. See how that sounds. So that's my tweak point. That's the point that I'll take this remix off of. And next week when we get back, I'll have some elaborations and everything. But um, any last minute questions here? All right. So while I'm waiting for any questions to come in, I'm just going to recap kind of what we've talked about in this live session. Remember, the main format of this live session was just that we were doing a final project remix session, which we've done. But some of the topics that we've covered in this live session, we've covered sync points, we've covered thinking in grid mode, we've covered nudging, we've covered tab to transient, we've talked about the workspace browser and bringing samples in from the workspace browser. We've talked a little bit about the software instruments and instruments tracks. Speaking of instrument tracks, just to remind you about going into Expand, what I did was I created a new stereo instrument track. Stereo instrument track. Here it is right here. I named it, whatever I want to name it, keys. And then these are my inserts. See here, I have my inserts. I can show everything in this view. I don't typically look at everything in this view. I'm more in the mix view when I look at that, when I look at everything. But all I'm really looking at is my inserts, my first set of inserts here. And then I instantiate a multi-channel plugin, which is my instrument. And if you haven't purchased any additional instruments, you should have Expand 2, Vacuum, Structure Free, Mini Grand, DB33, and boom. So then I pulled up Expand 2 out of the list. And then I was able to start picking my presets out of this list. So we looked a little bit of Expand. We looked at getting into the arpeggiators. We looked at changing our transposition to lower notes. We looked at the MIDI editor in this session. Remember, we talked about being able to scroll the windows with Command tilde, scrolling all those open windows. So again, I just want to kind of take you back through a little bit of a refresher that we covered quite a bit of material in this session. And I think if you go back and watch the archive, you really see how much information gets packed into these 2-hour sessions. I mean, if you remember, last night was a PTA2 overview. So that's really strictly related around the assignments. If you go back and watch Monday nights with what John Barry went through, you'll probably be blown away with what he covered, because I know he covered some really, really nice stuff, because I actually wound up back in there looking for something and got caught up in some of the stuff he was going over. So thank you. And I know I'll tell him you said that, Stephanie, because, John's a guru, man. John really, really knows his stuff. So I think between Monday, the PTA2 overview last night, and what we talked about tonight, Frank, go back through the archive once the archive's posted tomorrow and look through. We did talk about nudging. Also, remember when you download the assignment guidelines for PTA2, remember when you're looking at the guidelines on the first page, there's a little picture of a laptop. And if you click that image, when you have that doc open on your computer, when you have the PDF open on your computer and you click that laptop, you can download the prep session for the assignment. The prep session is embedded in FSO, and you can watch it on FSO, but you can also download it from within the assignment. So if you watch the prep session, you will really, really have a nice refresher for going into doing your PTA2 assignment. And then beyond that, it's all just dealing with it. Just go through, read the steps, fumble, make your mistakes, stop, start over. Remember, you got to have certain programs open, fight through the resistance, practice, 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 and put it all together. So I would highly recommend not waiting till Sunday night to completing your PTA2. Again, we're talking about chunking it out, thinking through, sitting down and working through this thing in steps, working through each week's assignment in steps, and then really chunking out your final project. So, I mean, Rick, that question about getting the loops off the discs, I mean, that's really what I would do is just this. Look, you've got your drive. Like this is my external drive, my OWC drive. I'd go into my samples folder right here. Look, Pro Tools loops. I created a folder on my external drive. If you don't have an external drive, it doesn't matter. Just on your main drive here, in your documents folder or wherever you keep your samples, create a folder called Pro Tools loops. Then you put that disk in your computer, and that disk will show up down here under devices. So you want to open up two finders, right? You'd actually have two finders open. Man, I really don't like that rows view. I like columns. But anyway, so in this table here, or in this column here, that disk would show up. Your disk would show up, and then right here would be all the folders that are on that disk. And then all you would do is just take your Pro Tools Loops folder, locate it, go back here, highlight what you wanted, and just drag them in and just let them copy over into that folder. So they should all be organized. I mean, I think all I did was just drag these out. I think I got these off of online, but I think I just downloaded individual folders. They wound up in my downloads folder, and then I pulled them into my own folder. Does that make sense, Rick? All right. Well, hey, Rick, you're in section 1 or 2, aren't you? Yeah, I was just going to say, oh, no, Rick, you're in my section. That's right. You're in my section. Yeah, so try it out, see, and if you have questions, hit me up, shoot me a chat or shoot me an email, and maybe I can give you a little bit of idea on how to organize them, okay? All right, cool. Hey, listen, I'm signing off. Let me just make sure I didn't miss anything here. All right, good. So I'm signing off. Thank you very much for sticking around. I hope you got some good value out of this. Hope you got some little nuggets to take with you. And if you have any questions, shoot me an email. Archive will be posted up in the morning. Talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.